Hey everyone, I hope you're doing super well because I am not, and apparently neither is my King Anthurium. The issue? Spider mites. So let's get to it. Before we get things going, I made a huge mistake. Oh, another huge mistake. You'll notice throughout the beginning of the segment, at least most of it, I was using a paper towel to clean off the first leaf, fortunately just the front side of the first leaf, when I should have been using a microfiber towel because these are better for Anthurium. They're softer, they won't scratch it up like a paper towel. So I'm a fool, but let's get things going again with Kevin. So, Kevin, give us the okay. Okay, so welcome back to the jungle for an SOS episode because this is my favorite plant ever, and I just got done profiling it and telling you guys all about it. And then just the other day, as I was looking up at its perch, which is now empty because it's over here, I noticed webbing all over it. And so I freaked out and I took it down, looked at all the other plants to make sure that everything was fine, and then brought it over here to my husband's lovely kitchen table. And it has been here for 2 days. I love his table. He loves it more. And he's not too happy with me because I ended up spraying it down with neem oil. Oh, just one second. By the way, my apologies in advance because normally I try to clean up the place a little bit before filming these episodes, but I just didn't have time to today because this is an emergency. So, yes, you're going to see random stuff all over the place, like, I don't know, a random 2 liter bottle of ginger ale on the table, a fiddly fig in the sink. It just got done being watered, which desperately needed. But yeah, so here on the dining room table, this plant has been sitting for the last 2 days, and I need to take care of it right away. So immediately, what I did was I grabbed some of my diatomaceous earth, which normally I get into a very good habit of taking this, and then after every watering, putting it all around the top layer of the plant and the bottom of its tray because diatomaceous earth, which is a very, very safe and natural ingredients and anti-pest killer, will really just wipe away a lot of crawlers, including our enemy today, spider mites. But I haven't been doing that with the king, and I'm so ashamed of myself because it is my favorite plant. So the first thing I did was I layered the top area, and you could see all of the wet now, watery, powdered whiteness that is all over the top layer there. I put on the bottom as well, and yeah, did that 2 days ago. But then I also, when my husband was away, I sprayed down every single leaf like crazy, the fronts, the back, because it was over here on this leaf, the smaller one behind that big one, where I noticed the webbing. And man, oh man, I was freaking out. But the webbing was all over and on the back side and on the front. So yeah, I made sure to inspect every leaf, and it seemed like really it was just those two leaves that were impacted. But regardless, I took my Captain Jack's Dead Bug from Bodine, neem oil here, and I just started spraying down every single leaf, and have just let it sit there for the last 2 days. And so I have gone over and inspected the leaves, and I don't see any webbing, which is good. But we're going to take some other preventative measures here because a lot of people deal with spider mites and a lot of other pests on their anthurium. I haven't, surprisingly. So this is my first time dealing with pests. Yeah, this is my first time dealing with pests on an anthurium. So now that I have the diatomaceous earth on the plant's top layer, the bottom layer, by the way, I am going to swap out this wicker basket with a new one because my concern is that there could be some spider mites inside there as well. But first, what I want to do is I want to wipe it down with a simple mixture that many of us just have in our homes. And that is some warm water, some little bit of dish soap. Many of you are going to ask me because you have in past videos how much dish soap I put in. Honestly, just like, I don't know, 2 or 3 splashes. And then some 3% hydrogen peroxide. Again, measurement wise, I just start squirting it in there. Not a whole lot, but I don't know. I just eyeball it. The plants don't seem to mind though. So what's nice about that is that mixture together will kill off any pests that might be on the leaves. And that's what we want to do. So 2 days ago, yeah, 2 days ago, we uh, sprayed it down with the Captain Jacks. And now what we have to do is go through and wipe down the leaves front and back, especially the backside. The reasoning for that is because pests, especially spider mites, they like to hide on the back sides of leaves. It's a tricky area for any plant parent because it's really hard to see them. I mean, granted, spider mites are just difficult to see to begin with because they're so tiny. And the first time you normally see them is when you see webbing. And when you see webbing, that should be a really big concern. And that's why I freaked out, because webbing means that there are quite a bit of them. So I'm hoping that that's the case here, is that the spider mites and the webbing that I did see were isolated to just maybe these two leaves. But, you know, the reality of that isn't too realistic. The reality is that it's probably on every single leaf, but hopefully that spray down with the neem oil will definitely have caused quite a bit of damage to them. My also big concern is that right there in the middle, a brand new leaf is coming out. And that's concerning to me because what if the spider mites got a hold of it or are inside that area where the new leaf is coming out? You recall in the last episode, I explained how, because this is my favorite plant, its last new leaf to come out, that baby over there, is 31 and a half inches long. And this next leaf that comes out will be longer than that. I'm assuming probably like 33 inches because they seem to be going up each new leaf by at least 2.5 inches. And this is a very, very healthy plant. In fact, it has pups coming out of it. That leaf right there is a pup, and that means that it is basically a brand new plant that's growing out of this plant. So when I go to repot it, I could take that baby out and I could just pot it up as a brand new plant, which I probably will do. And there's actually a couple other little pups coming out. Oh, and this is cute. Out of that pup, it has a brand new leaf emerging as well. So yeah, it's a healthy plant. It's the first time I've ever seen um, any pest issues on this. And it's so upsetting because I literally, after every single watering, I always make sure to wipe down its leaves because I love this plant so much. And I really love just kind of like wiping down its leaves because of the texture of them. And I didn't the last two, and I'm ashamed of myself. I really am, because I could have caught this earlier than I wanted to, and because of that, I'm a bad plant parent. I'm curious, though, in the comments below, if you own Anthurium, maybe a Veitchii, have you ever dealt with spider mites or any other pests? Regardless whether it's a Veitchii, any Anthurium, let me know the number one pest that you deal with your Anthurium, because I'm curious to know. Now, something that would be really effective for me to do right now is, if before I wipe down these leaves, if I could take this plant, put it in the sink, and wipe down its leaves, wash them down with the hose in the sink, or put it in the shower and wipe it down first that way. The problem is, this is a very large plant, and that sink is too small. The hose does not come out long enough for me to be able to splash it, and there's no way this would fit into the shower upstairs, let alone through the bathroom door. So that's a no-go. And another thing you could do is, if you live in an area that is warm enough, you could also take this plant outside and spray it down with a hose. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, and if you look outside right now, you will see that it is currently 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is freezing outside. It's been snowing, and yeah, taking it outside and hosing it out there is not good. But yeah, take a look at how I'm going about rubbing down these leaves. Is in doing so, especially when you have a plant with these ridges like this, you want to make sure to get in between those areas because that's where spider mites can easily hide. My gosh, this is so upsetting to me. It's really upsetting because it's like, and I'm sure many of you can relate, when you have a plant that you have grown since it was a little baby and you've seen it thrive into something so beautiful like this plant. I mean, when I first got it and it was just like this small, longest leaf was 5 inches, and then it explodes into this massive, beautiful beast of a plant with 31.5 inch long leaves. It's upsetting. And I'm really upset because I don't ever want to see anything bad happen to this plant. I will do anything to protect it. And this is a good reminder to myself, hopefully to you guys, to always check your plants and make sure that you are doing the proper plant care routine to take care of it, and to never forget that after a good watering to make sure to wipe down its leaves, because indeed that would have prevented this, or at least allowed me to see that there was an issue. And this poor baby struggling. You know what it was too is that I was. It got really cold here the other night, and I noticed, because in my plant display I have it up top on that perch, like I showed you guys, and most of its leaves were facing towards the window. And even though I had the blind shut, it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And so I stepped in front of the display just to check kind of like what it felt like over there. And the closer you got to the window, obviously, it was a lot colder. And so I'm like, oh man, well, let me turn this plant around and I'll have most of its leaves facing the living room. And so that's what I did. And the next day, I went down, and it was more noticeable because its leaves were underneath that grow light. And that's when I saw the webbing, and I'm like, oh no. And so that's when I started to freak out. Another thing you can do in a situation like this, by the way, is to introduce, gosh, and I forget the name of them, but other insects that go after pests. There are plenty of them, and that is something you can introduce them into your home, and they will literally go down and hunt these pests. And a lot of these beneficial, that's what I think they're called, beneficial insects, um, are like amazing at hunting down things like spider mites. Back when I lived in my old apartment, I did this with ladybugs. I ordered like 1,000 ladybugs, and not that I had any pests at that point, but I just wanted to be, taking the extra step and doing all that stuff. And so I did. And I introduced 500 ladybugs into my apartment, and I barely noticed them. And man, oh man, I truly, I mean, even though I didn't have pests at the time, like I truly think that they did something, because I forget what the figure is, and correct me in the comments if anybody knows the answer to this. But from what I read online, is that like a one ladybug could eat up to several hundred, maybe if not like 1,000 spider mites a day, which is kind of crazy because you look at ladybugs, you're like, oh, they're so cute, they're these little bugs. They are monsters, and they will do the work that God, you only dreamed that they could do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue wiping this down, and I'll catch up with you guys in a bit once we move on to the next step. We're going to focus on cleaning off these leaves more because it's very important. Let's time lapse it though so we can get through this pretty quickly. I went through these leaves just to make sure, and I did find webbing on 2 of them. And it's very important to use a light like I'm using a camera light here that I have for my show, but even if it's just like a flashlight or something, just to shine on those leaves, just to see the reflection, if you can, of any webbing, because it wasn't until I had turned this plant around, like I was saying, and had it underneath a grow light, where I actually saw that webbing. And I gotta tell you, one of the more difficult things right now about going through this is that our dog Tequila, her hair looks like spider mite webbing, and because she sheds a lot, her hair is like in parts of this plant, and so I'm having to go through it and just to see whether or not it is webbing or tequila hair. But that's really only one trouble. One of the more challenging things about cleaning off this plant is literally getting in between these ridges. Take a look, because the Anthurium veitchii, the King Anthurium, was a very, very interesting design when this plant came to life, because these ridges are beautiful, but man, oh man, um, they are kind of difficult to get around because they're so uniquely designed, but designed in a way that, because they grow in the rainforest in Colombia, that with all the heavy rainfall that they go through, uh, these ridges really help that rain just kind of slide through and around without harming the plant's leaf. Because when you think about it, the amount of rain that comes down there could really destroy foliage if this plant didn't have such a unique design to it. But I went over this twice, each leaf twice, and yeah, I think we are good to go. And what I'm going to do is give it another spray of neem oil, and then put another layer of diatomaceous earth on top of its soil and sphagnum moss, and we should be good. Right? Hardly. It's been a week now, and the King Anthurium is back on its perch. I've been monitoring this thing daily, and I haven't seen any signs of spider mites, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. The fact of the matter is, guys, you always have to look for a couple of weeks afterwards just to make sure that there are no like webbing or anything like that. Now, one thing that I really screwed up on that I regret doing is the fact that I had this away for like 2 or 3 days while I was treating it. And you see right there, remember that new leaf that was coming out? Well, it started to emerge while it was in that area. And so now it's growing away from the light, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll turn around. But if not, it'll be a cool looking, leaf heading here into the living room. But here's the thing: spider mites aren't bugs. In fact, they're arachnids, very closely related to spiders. But unlike spiders, they don't make webs to really capture prey. Instead, they make webs to defend themselves. And like I was telling you guys, when you start to see webbing on your plant, that means that you have hundreds, if not thousands, of little spider mites on your plant. So, gotta check this baby daily, which I'm going to do. And yeah, I really, screwed up, like I told you guys, because the big issue is that I wasn't watering enough, which made the plant weak. And on top of that, we had some really dry days here in Denver because it was so snowy outside, like it is right now, that I let the humidifiers go without being refilled, which is bad because my plants here, they love humidity, but it also made them susceptible to pests like a spider mite. So if you want to really keep spider mites away, a really good thing to do is to blast humidity, because they hate humid air. They want a dry condition. So we're not going to let them have that. I'm going to be a better plant dad. And, it is what it is. But another thing I want to tell you guys about is another pest. But first, I want to thank you guys for watching another one of my planty videos. And if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell for more fun and interesting planty content just like this. So, if you think spider mites are one thing, boy oh boy, check out this video in the corner, because it was something I dealt with another favorite plant of mine, my philodendron, my beautiful philodendron luxurian. And yeah, check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.